I want to share a thought with you guys this morning, and it's titled 2 words, get out. And I want you to turn to the person next to you right now, and I just want you to tell them to get out. Come on. More passion, come on. Get out. All right. I want you to turn to the other person now, and I want you to tell them, and stay out. All right. We're going to come back to that thought in a moment. I know some of you are thinking, did that Aussie just tell us to get out? He should get out. But wait. We'll come back to that thought in a second. I want to share a story with you. And it's a story about change, about changing the world around us. And before I jump into it, I'm going to ask a quick question. Now, my hand's already up for this question. But would you raise your hands if you think bottled water is just a little bit silly? Come on, tap water for free, right? Yeah, hands down. Now put your hand up if you've ever bought a bottle. Yes. I love that moment because it's like, yeah, bottled water's silly. Yeah, I'm silly. We've all done it. We've all bought a bottle. And I have this really interesting moment in first year university. I'm 19 years old, and I'm sitting at my computer, and I'm crying because I'm watching stories of kids, some as young as 4 and 5, and they're walking every single day to collect water for their family. And I'm thinking, I've never had to do that before. The statistics popping up on my screen said 4,500 children die every single day from waterborne disease. 8 years ago when we started, there were 900 million people in our world who still didn't have access to clean water. And I have this moment where I'm crying because I'm thinking, man, what if that story was me? And I've got twin sisters, Jess and Mel, that are younger than me. And I thought, imagine that. Imagine walking to collect water for them. They die. And then I find out it was the water that I was collecting that killed them. I was thinking, like, how do you even process that? In this moment, I felt 2 things. One was moved, but the second was kind of helpless. I felt like, what difference can one person make? I'm 19 years old, first year uni, with a problem as big as 900 million people. Yeah, what difference could I make? I'm not sure about you guys, but when I open the newspapers or turn on the TV lately, I'm kind of blown away at how messed up and how complex our world is. And sometimes as an individual we feel powerless, but this is a story of empowering the individuals to change the world. You see, I'm moved, I'm overwhelmed, but then I had this idea. Now, ideas do change the world, and there are ideas in this room right now, some that are in the room, some that will drop this conference, some that will come after. And I promise you, if you chase these ideas, remarkable things can happen. My idea was, well, that's a huge problem. But there's another number which says globally, this is in 2008, we're spending $50 billion on bottled water. Today it's $100 billion. And we're all like, that's so stupid. So I was like, well, from time to time we buy water, it turns out, because we're thirsty. So what if, because bottled water is silly, we launched a brand of bottled water that gives 100% of the profit to funding water projects? And I, as one person, probably can't make much of a difference, but what if we could? And this was the idea, and I literally told my best mate, Jared, and he's like, bro, I love it, I'm in. I'm like, cool. And I told my girlfriend about it, Justine, she said she was in. I'm like, awesome. And then I'm thinking, I'm pretty sure you're not meant to get into business with your best mate and your girlfriend. But we kind of did it anyway, and good news, we've grown up. Justine and I are now married. Jared and I are not married, but we're friends. And we've kind of grown up, but it was crazy because at the beginning people said, you guys are so naive. And we were real scared of that word. Now as an organization and a staff of 50, we fight to keep the naivety. The belief in anything is possible. And I remember one of Jared's first questions in the first meeting was, so how do you start a bottled water company? I'm like, bro, I have no idea. And so we did maybe what you guys would do. We didn't know how to start a water company, and so we just Googled it. A heap of results came up, and Google's like, you need a bottle, you need a factory. We're like, cool. And so we start clicking around. We thought, well, let's start meeting with some factories. And so we did. And to give you like a visual picture, we wore our parents' suits to these meetings. We didn't want to look too young. And every time we drove in the car park, we'd take the P plates down from the window. Well, we're trying not to look too young. And so we're here to launch a brand that's going to change the world. And people are like, you're up against Coca-Cola, this company, that company. We're like, yeah, but this is going to change the world forever. And people were like, you can't do this. Where would you get the money to start it? I mean, we got questions like the brand we came up with was Thankyou. People are like, can you call a brand or a product Thankyou? We're like, oh, we're not sure. But someone called their product Apple, and it sort of worked. If you guys look real closely there, you'll see that Thankyou's trademarked, which is super cool. And that's because I had a friend who just finished law school. I'm like, bro, how do you trademark stuff? And he's like, so if no one's ever put a TM next to the word, you can just put a TM there. I'm like, no. So that's how we trademark Thankyou. We just stuck a TM there, stuck it on the bottle. About 6 years later, it's now registered with the good people at the trademarks office. But we had no idea. We get to the 5th factory, and this time something's different because the manager says, I've been in bottled water for 2 decades. I think it's stupid as well. I'm like, okay. He's like, I'm in. And we're like, wow, that's awesome. What does that mean? You're in. He goes, I will bottle your product, no upfront costs. You go and sell it and then pay me the cost of goods when you can. That was cool because most factories wanted hundreds of thousands of dollars in upfront expenses. Hundreds of thousands of dollars may not sound like much to some people. Our team, we had like a combined net worth, which is the term rich people use, of about $1,000. So like, we had about $1,000. This guy was willing to back us. And we walk from there into the doors of the largest distributor of beverages in Australia. They're a group called MBC, and they work with Lipton Iced Tea, Red Bull. Who's heard of these brands? And we walk in knowing that we're not going to get the deal because the factory manager said, you're not going to get the deal. His point was they only work with the biggest in the world, but then there was a part of us that was like, but what if? What if they took it? And so we pitched the idea, and 1 hour into the meeting, the director says, yeah, cool, I'm going to take 50,000 units from you guys. How quick can you get it to me? I was like, an awkward pause. And I was like, oh, give us about 3 weeks. He's like, gee, that's quick. I was like, yeah, we're pretty quick at Thankyou Water. Anyway, so I remember calling the factory manager. I'm like, we got 50,000 units. He's like, no. I said, yeah, we got 3 weeks. He's like, they said that. I was like, oh, nah, we did. He dropped a lot of swear words that day. That's another story. So we got no idea, but we're going to change the world. And I love this photo. This is a shot of Jared with the first runner product. And it's so cool because, you know, come on. See, we have this idea about empowering people. You know, there's 1 billion people right now living in extreme poverty. It's a massive number. But here's another number we don't talk about often. There's nearly 6 billion people who aren't. And when you start looking at numbers differently, you go, hang on a second. Maybe the solution is a little bigger than the problem. But the challenge with that comparison is there's a disconnect between us and them. We cannot have that in this world. It is us, it is we. The most powerful number is 7 billion of us coming together in some way, shape, or form to end one of the greatest injustices in our lifetime, which is extreme poverty. And this idea is just one piece of the puzzle, and we love it. We think it's going to change the world, but something shocks us because our launch, wow, well, it happened, and we had a pallet delivered to mum and dad's garage because we didn't have an office yet. And we're unloading it, and then the team went dead quiet because 1/3 of all the product in every box, the label was scrunched on, some to the point you couldn't read it. Now, it turned out the quality control guy was away when they ran our product. And I was like, is that even legal? Our launch became a product recall, and it took 3 months. We relaunched, built up to 350 stores stocking the product, and 1 year in, at this point, our factory doesn't supply product for 5 weeks. And in 5 weeks, we lost 300 of our 350 customers. We launched with a new distributor up in the northern part of Australia, and they dropped us saying, "You're just kids, you don't know what you're doing." And I'm thinking like, yeah, but it's not us. It's the factory. And they're older people. They should know what they're doing. You know, you can't say that you think it, but like, the whole thing came crashing down, and then we relaunched because 2 retailers were looking at the product. And our relaunch with a huge distribution company that comes on board, they said we'll be in 2,000 stores in month 1, but we weren't. In month 1 of our relaunch, they went bankrupt. They owed us everything we had. And then the 2 retailers came back saying no, and then they both came out with their own bottle of water that went to funding water projects. And we were like, that is good for the cause and why we started. But this is discouraging. One of the largest supermarkets in our country in the first pitch said, "We love your passion, but you guys are up against brands investing $3 to $5 million in product launches. No disrespect, but you don't have what it takes in this market." And that was the first pitch, but 2.5 years into our journey, that supermarket says, "Congratulations, you're in national range every store." And I want to encourage you about persistence, about turning your stumbling blocks into stepping stones. Because at year 2.5, we're about to change the world. And as we got production ready, I remember putting a call through, and it was interesting because when I called through to see what date the delivery was, a new person picked up the phone. Said, "I've never heard of Thankyou Water." The old guy had moved categories, and that supermarket ends up retracting our national ranging offer. We protested with it, but we had a commitment that said, yeah, but it doesn't stand, and there's a new category manager, and we're shattered at 2.5 years. And some people are like, well, why did you stick at this journey? And I want to touch on that because for the first 3 years, we get no national retail deal, and it all comes back to our why. This is not a photo from the internet. This is Vianney, born in a country called Burundi. And we met when he was 12, and this is the water he used to collect, but now he has access to safe water. And for me, this doesn't just sum up our organization's story, it sums up some of my personal why. Vianney was super cool. He was super cheeky. He kept saying through a translator that he would beat me in a running race. I'm like, well, you tell him I would win. And so, but all day, like we're bantering, and then we do the race, right? And so this is a photo of the start of the race. And there are no more photos from this day. I was telling someone it's not about winning, but see, moments in our life anchor us. This weekend, for many of you, will anchor you. It will build that deep foundational why, and you need it if you're going to do things that haven't been done before. See, thank you. We talk about finding your why, and we talk about who says you have to do things the way they've always been done before. And I mean no disrespect to experience. We must learn from the past, but we must be willing to challenge our thinking. See, 5 years into our journey, we can't get our 1 bottle of water into Coles and Woolworths, who are our 2 biggest supermarkets, and they have 70% of the market. They said no to us for 5 years, and we're frustrated. Like literally, we just want to empower people and change the world. But what they didn't know was not only had they said no for 5 years to 1 product, but from year 3 to 5, we developed this idea further. Bottled water's kind of silly. We thought thank you's not though. We love this thought of empowering consumers, and so from year 3 to 5, we developed an entire food range. This guy back in Aussie, Callum, won MasterChef All-Stars and joined our team as our CTO, our Chief Taste Officer. And he developed our muesli, our clusters, our bars, where 100% of the profit goes to funding food programs. We then developed a body care range, hand washes, lotions, and sanitizers, where all profit would fund health and sanitation, because this is about sustainable development in communities. We then developed a world first in product called Track Your Impact, and every product has its own unique tracker code. And when you type it into our website, it will zoom into the GPS coordinates of the exact well or filter that you are funding. How did we do this? A bunch of really technical people. Young guy had a dream, joined our team, did work. His work looked like the Matrix, and I'd like walk past his desk, and I'm like, bro, I don't even know if you're working. but he created this, which is cool. And so we have this system called Track Your Impact. It reports to consumers, but people are saying, you're crazy. You've spent 2 years developing this, but you can't get one product into Coles and Woolies. Now you've got 14. You guys are like dreamers, your head's in the cloud, but you see, we had an idea. And one day we launched this video on YouTube called the Coles and Woolworths campaign. Now, media were like, you can't do that. You can't put the two biggest supermarkets in the same sentence. They hate each other in Aussie. And we're like, oh, well, our graphic designer, Wes, he didn't find it too hard. He just sort of, did it. And we launched a video that goes viral, asking people to upload posts onto the Coles and Woolies Facebook page, and people start singing, dancing, rapping, recording it, uploading it, petitioning their Facebook page, and this campaign goes viral. And then we may have flown that from a helicopter. Coles, thank you for changing the world. In brackets, if you say yes, because we hadn't met them yet. And we flew over Melbourne and around their head office for half an hour. To be fair, Woolworths got one too. And my favorite part of this day was Peter and Jeff, the pilots, because they flew for free. This is about we. What can each of us do to help solve one of the most complex problems in our world? We walk in and present 5 hours after the pitch at Coles, 3 hours after Woolworths, they say yes. And in the history of products in our country, there's never been a range this quickly. And it shows the power of people. That takes us to today, which is kind of crazy because our first year we raised $7,500. Next year was $7,800, so not good growth. Just hit 4.1 million. Our next round of funding's gone out, taking it to 4.9 million, about to hit over 5.2. It's hit a tipping point. 46 products on the market, some like our hand wash, literally ranked number 1 in the category. And this graph's looking good and we like it, but you know what? This entire model was flawed from the start. And we knew it. See, we give 100% of our profit away, and our business is owned 100% by our charitable trust. We have no shareholders, no investors, and that's how we make the 100% profit promise. But people who put a business cap on go, how? How are you going to scale this idea up? How are you going to take it to new markets? Because we believe Thankyou could one day be a global concept. How are you going to do it? It's impossible. You need to sell shares or equity. We're like, no, we cannot change the one thing that built this. So a couple months ago, we launched a little video on YouTube to help solve our greatest challenge. And it was an epic crowdfunding campaign where we said, hey, everyone, the model is flawed, but what if we could solve it? And we talked about a book titled Chapter 1 that we'd spent literally 2 years writing. And 100% of the profit from this book, Chapter 1, would fund Chapter 2, the future of our idea. And we said to people, hey, we wrote this book for you, for your idea, for your dream. It's got everything we've learned. And in our launch video, we said, the future of Thankyou begins with 2 things. We want to launch into the baby category in Australia with baby products that will fund health and maternal infant programs. And then we want to launch Thankyou into New Zealand. We had this idea, imagine if Thankyou could go to another market, and we thought our Kiwi mates could be the first market to ever test this idea, and if it works, then one day we take it global. So in this video, we said we need to raise $1.2 million to launch the baby category and then New Zealand, and $1.2 million is a lot of dollars. It's a lot of books, and because a best-selling book in Australia sells about 5,000 copies. Be lucky to make 50 grand profit. So we launched Chapter 1 with a pay-what-you-want price. There's no RRP. In the last few months, the most paid was up to $2.5 grand. Some kids chipped in at a school, paid $1,400 for a copy. Some people have paid 50 cents. We're still looking for them. The book launches in every airport in Australia and New Zealand at a pay-what-you-want price. This is a bookshop first. Get this, the launch video gets 600,000 views. The book hits that bestseller status in 3 hours. In the first 28 days, we sell 55,000 copies, raising $1.44 million profit. This thing is crazy. The retailers email us saying, guys, in launch week, chapter 1 outsold every business book and we're second to the Harry Potter launch. And we're like, I haven't read Harry Potter, but that is awesome. And the message behind chapter 1 is so simple. It's you have the power to change stuff. Mum's a primary school teacher. She wasn't happy with the word stuff, but has to say stuff because your stuff and my stuff looks different. The problems and the challenges that you see in this world, they look different to the ones that I see, but together we can change them. There is a disconnect between us and them, but I think we have the power to change stuff. I think what stops us though is fear. And they say fear of failure has killed more dreams than failure itself. And I know what that's like. It's kind of personal. Because in year 10 and 11, I said, I'll never do public speaking. And I said that because I had a really strong lisp. And I'm a bit annoyed whoever came up with the term lisp to describe a lisp. But I have fear, like, what if my words don't come out right? And I think fear stops all of us from chasing the remarkable. But I sat in a room when I was a young kid once, and the speaker up the front said this. He said, every single one of us has a unique fingerprint. There are no two humans in the history of mankind with the same fingerprint. And I'm like, yeah, I think I learned that at school, but I love it. And he says, because every single one of us has an opportunity to leave an imprint in this world that no one else can. Let me leave you with that thought. Our team will be up the back if you want to help sign up for our launch or purchase chapter 1. But my challenge to you is we're one chapter in on our journey. What is your next chapter? Thank you.